What if I told you the borders of most African countries you see on the map today were never meant to make sense? Not based on culture, not based on language, not even based on the people who live there. Instead, they were drawn in rooms thousands of miles away by people who had never even set foot on the land. Straight lines, random divisions, entire communities split apart overnight. And here's the shocking part. Millions of people are still living with the consequences today. This isn't just about maps. It's about decisions made over 100 years ago that still shape entire nations. Let's go back to the late 1800s. At this time, European powers were expanding across Africa, competing for land, resources, and influence. But instead of negotiating with African leaders or understanding local systems, they did something else. In 1884, they gathered in Europe at a meeting known as the Berlin Conference. Representatives from countries like Britain, France, Germany, Belgium, and Portugal sat down to divide Africa among themselves. No African leaders were invited, and yet decisions were made about African land. Imagine that, an entire continent divided without its people. On maps, they drew borders, often using rulers and straight lines. These lines didn't follow ethnic groups. They didn't respect existing kingdoms. They didn't consider languages, cultures, or histories. They were designed for control. One region might contain multiple rival groups forced into one country. Another might split a single ethnic group across multiple nations. At the time, it didn't matter to those making the decisions. The goal was simple: control land, extract resources, expand power. And for decades, these colonial systems reshaped economies, governance, and societies. When African countries began gaining independence in the mid-20th century, something unexpected happened. Most of these colonial borders remained. Why? Because changing them could lead to even more conflict. So, newly independent nations inherited borders that were never designed for unity. So what does that mean today? Here's where it gets complicated. Many of the challenges seen in parts of Africa today can be traced back to these colonial borders. Conflicts between groups, sometimes rooted in forced coexistence, political instability, often linked to artificial boundaries that don't reflect real communities. Groups that were once separate were forced together, others that shared identity were divided, and over time, this created tension. But here's the twist: colonial borders are only part of the story. Blaming everything on the past oversimplifies reality. Today's nations have also made their own decisions, some good, some not. Leadership, policy, economics, and global influence all play a role. So while colonial borders set the stage, they don't write the entire script. Understanding that balance is key. So what's the truth about colonial borders? They were never meant to reflect reality. They were drawn for power, not for people. And yet, they became the foundation of modern nations. Understanding this doesn't solve everything, but it changes how we see the world. Because when you look at a map now, you're not just seeing geography, you're seeing history, decisions, consequences, and a reminder that the past is never really in the past. They tell a different story, a story of resilience. Because despite the challenges, countries across Africa have built identities, cultures, and futures within those lines. The borders may not have been chosen, but what happens inside them, that's still being written. So the next time you see those straight lines across a continent, ask yourself, who drew them and why?